All right, let's talk about a term you may have heard thrown around, maybe online or in the news. Ghazwa-e-Hind. It's an Islamic prophecy, one that points to a future conquest related to the Indian subcontinent. But what is it, really? And where does this idea even come from?
So, that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Is this prophecy about a modern war between nations, the way a lot of people talk about it today? Or is it something else entirely? A symbolic, ancient prophecy about the end of the world, something set in a far, far distant future. That's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Before we can even touch the prophecy itself, we have to understand the stage where it's all set to unfold, and that's the land called Hind. Now, this isn't just a spot on a modern map. In Islamic tradition, this land has a significance that, believe it or not, stretches all the way back to the dawn of humanity.
And this is a really, really crucial point. When these ancient texts mention Hind, they are not talking about the modern-day country of India. Not at all. They're referring to the entire subcontinent, this huge, vast historical and cultural region that existed long before today's political borders were ever drawn.
And just look at this timeline. It shows you how deep this connection really runs. According to different accounts, the prophet Adam is said to have first set foot on earth right there, in Hind. An oven that was connected to the great flood of Noah was reportedly located there. It was even the land where a courtier of the prophet Solomon tried to escape to, only to find that his destiny was waiting for him there. And even during the time of the prophet Muhammad himself, a king from Hind sent him a gift of rare ginger. So you see, this region is woven right into the fabric of the prophetic story from the very, very beginning.
Okay, so with all that history in mind, let's actually look at the prophecy itself. Now, there have been historical conquests of the region, for sure, but the prophetic tradition is actually very careful to draw a line between what has already happened and what is still foretold for the future.
Okay, so fast forward to 712 AD. This is about 80 years after the prophet's passing. A general named Muhammad bin Qasim leads a major military expedition into the subcontinent. That's a historical fact. It absolutely happened. But the question is, was this the prophesied Ghazwa-e-Hind?
And this is where the distinction becomes crystal clear. That historical event, it's consistently called the conquest of Sind in the old texts, a specific campaign in a specific area. The prophecy of Ghazwa-e-Hind, on the other hand, is always tied to events way down the line, near the end of times, and it's specifically linked to the return of Jesus. The timelines just don't match up.
Okay, but hold on a second. You might be wondering, why even call it a Ghazwa if the prophet isn't physically there? And that's a great question. While the term technically means a battle the prophet himself was in, its broader meaning in the texts is, well, a major, super significant expedition. So calling this future event a Ghazwa is a way of elevating it, marking it as a truly monumental event in history.
And you can just feel the weight of that significance in this quote from Abu Huraira, who is one of the prophet's closest companions. His words are incredibly powerful. He said, "If I were to witness this Ghazwa, I would sell everything I own to participate in it. If I am martyred, I will be among the best of martyrs." I mean, just think about that. That shows you how the very first Muslims saw this, not as just another battle, but as an event with ultimate spiritual consequences. All right, now we get to what might be the most crucial point from the source material. It argues that framing Ghazwa-e-Hind as a war between modern countries, say India and Pakistan, is a complete misunderstanding of what the prophecy is actually about. This table really breaks it down perfectly. On one hand, you have the common misconception, a geopolitical war, one nation's army against another's. But the theological interpretation, that's something else entirely. It's not about nations or flags, it's about a global ideological clash, a war between two camps, one of truth and belief and one of falsehood and disbelief. The key takeaway here is that by the time these events are supposed to happen, the world map as we know it will be, well, gone, irrelevant. National borders won't be the main dividing line. The real conflict, the real battle line, will be ideological. And the people of the subcontinent, just like people everywhere else on Earth, will have to choose a side, not based on their passport, but on what they believe.
So, if this is this huge global clash, what does that world even look like? Well, to understand that, we have to zoom out, way out, because Ghazwa-e-Hind isn't described as some isolated event. Nope, it's just one piece of a much larger, much more dramatic puzzle of events that signal the end of times.
You see, the prophetic accounts describe 10 major signs that will come before the final day. And we're not talking about subtle shifts here. We're talking about world-altering, reality-bending events. Ghazwa-e-Hind is said to take place during this period of incredible global chaos.
And among these major signs, there are three in particular that paint a picture of catastrophic global collapse: a mysterious smoke, the sinking of the Earth itself, and a devastating wind. Let's just quickly touch on each one.
First up, we have the smoke, or ad-Dukhan. The prophecy describes this visible smoke that will just envelop the entire planet for 40 days. For believers, it's said to feel like a common cold, but for disbelievers, it will be a severe torment.
So what on earth could cause something like that? The texts have led to all kinds of speculation. Could it be a massive meteor impact? A chain reaction of supervolcano eruptions creating a volcanic winter? Maybe continent-spanning megafires? Or even the total collapse of our industrial world?
Then we have the second sign, the sinking of the Earth. The prophecy talks about three massive land collapses, one in the east, one in the west, and one in the Arabian Peninsula. And we're not talking about a little sinkhole in a field here. This is described as the ground itself giving way on a continental scale.
And the third sign, the great wind. It's described as moving at hundreds of kilometers an hour, so powerful that it will literally lift people up from the land and throw them into the sea. It's a terrifying image of a complete breakdown of the planet's systems.
So, you take all of these pieces, the prophecy, the idea of an ideological war, these absolutely catastrophic signs, and you put them all together, what's the final picture we're left with?
Is a picture of a world that has been completely transformed, and not just politically, but physically. The prophecies describe a series of events that will break down the world as we know it, setting the stage for the final dramatic act of human history.
And that leaves us with this final question, doesn't it? We've just explored an ancient prophecy about a future clash, one that's described not in terms of nations, but of competing ideas. So in a world that already feels so divided, so polarized, what does a prophecy like this ask us to think about? That's something to consider. Thanks for tuning in.